Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome on stage a couple who've been traveling the world for about 20 years. They've been there and done it. They've had the highs and they've had the lows. They went away to break a small record and basically looking at a 10-year journey, and now 20 years on, their journey is never ending. They're a fabulous couple. They're fun to be with. They've got a dynamic between them which is very, very cool for a married couple. So please go wild and ballistic for Simon and Lisa. Get them on stage. Come on, guys. Woo! Oh, yeah, baby.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you all here. Now, are you here just resting from the sun, or are you here to actually listen to us? Listen? You sure? Or have a...
You're going to be so fucking disappointed after that.
Nice intro, though. Do you know, I think you should do that professionally, don't you? He's learning, but...
I think we should end on a high. I reckon that was pretty damn good. Let's just go to the pub over there, talk some shit, look at some bikes and have a drink.
No, actually, we are going to talk some shit.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we are.
Can I need to do some clever stuff here that you can't do.
I'm leaning. Look, I'm leaning.
I wouldn't put up with this shit if it was you and McGregor. Go on, over there.
Would you like to have travelled with you?
Don't know, he's a good kisser.
I'm a good kisser.
She is. By the way, if you were expecting a slick, smooth, well-rehearsed presentation, that's absolutely that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No.
Walk in front of me. Now, you can't walk, all right? Because the screen is here, and people do not want us walking.
Do you know what? I look at that and I think, Jesus, I'm knackered.
So, some of you may have been to one of our presentations before. We'll put a slightly different twist on the presentation this time. It's
one that we haven't rehearsed or looked at.
One that we haven't rehearsed or looked at, because we've been busy on the Bridgestone stage. You've been enjoying those interviews? We've got one...
Well, that wasn't convincing at all. Yeah.
We've got one final
we?
interview coming up, which you can follow us along back to the back to Bridgestone stage from here. But that's a bit later.
It is. We're going to jump in. So, okay, jokes aside, there's a preamble. We've given a lot of talks, a lot of presentations. There's only so many times we want to share the same stories. In terms of we were here and we did this and this is how we felt, the two questions that we get asked more than any other all around the world through the entire journey was, okay, all this time on the road, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year and so on, how do you afford it? Okay, I get that, fair enough question. Come and have a chat to us and we will let you know. The second most asked question is when people say, what, so that's not your sister? So we get that a lot. No, her name's Mrs. Thomas. I don't have sex with my sister often. So, too early? I was trying to follow Billy Ward. How do you, what? So you travel with your wife 24/7, 365. And they don't say, how do you do that? We get this. Why?
I always get a bit offended. Why do they always ask him, oh, you travel with your wife?
How did you get your wife to go on your trip? Wait for the punches and the bites to fly.
Lisa, can you hold it closer to your mouth, please?
Why, thank you.
That is not the first time he said that to my wife, just to be clear. So you've got the tone. If you're easily offended, now is the time to leave.
So, is that better? Yeah. So, why don't they not ask me that question? How the hell do you spend all that time with your husband? I mean, don't you want to kill him?
Yes. So I will apologise in advance. This is the first presentation that we've actually done in 9 years where we've actually got some notes. And the sensible reason for that is this. We've never sat down and actually put together a sensible explanation as to the pros and cons of travelling with a husband and wife, or a partner, or a best friend, versus travelling solo, because there's pluses and minuses to both. And I've got to be honest, we were genuinely surprised when we sat down how difficult it was to actually analyse what was going on and to genuinely come up with an answer that said, we are both absurdly competitive. We are incredibly focused and annoying. How does that work? He got it. how has that worked through the Amazon and the Sahara and the various situations? And I need to make sure that I stay on point, hence the notes. Otherwise, we get too carried away and it all just becomes a big glory mess.
He actually gets too carried away.
I do.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I've got to wear glasses because I actually can't see this now.
That's an age thing.
No, it's 507,000 miles, but who's counting? So we're going to kick straight off. For anyone that doesn't know, thank you so much for coming to our show. We are Simon and Lisa Thomas, better known as To Ride the World.
This actually just shows the miles that we've taken in. So 507,000 miles. People got kilometres, no miles, which is equivalent to a few times around the Earth, 20 or so.
It is. Very briefly, so questions first of all. So some context to the presentation. In 1987, you were at home and the phone rang because I wasn't there.
Simon had gone off to his mate's house on his motorcycle, and I was berating him. Yeah, he didn't actually call me to say he arrived safely, damn him. And I had a phone call, and it was Worcester Hospital. They said, hello, it's Worcester Hospital here. Is that Lisa Thomas? Yes. Your husband's been involved in an accident. Don't worry, he's all right. That changed our lives completely.
I've been riding south to north up to a meeting in Worcester, and basically I've been hit by 2 cars. The impact was pretty bad. Damage to my head, my hips. The long story short is that I took off my right foot, all bar a couple of tendons and some skin. That was surgery number 5 when things were starting to look pretty good. The net result was 2 years on my back because once the muscles and the bones had healed, it took a lot longer for the blood vessels. So whenever I put my foot down, blood would go down and just wouldn't come back out. 2 years on your back is an awful long time when you're used to thinking and doing things quickly and being fairly active. And during this time, our lives collapsed around us. I lost my career because they kicked us out. I tried to sue them, they changed company names. Lisa had gone back to university 2 weeks before, and I was adamant that she wasn't going to leave university because then we'd lose the financial support that was giving us. The only thing that we kept was the house and the 2 bikes. Every credit card was maxed out, and we were this close to basically being completely bankrupt. Oh, and in the same year, Lisa was diagnosed with several other heart issues and was told that if she wanted to make it past 40, they were going to have to open her up and put in a pacemaker. God, I feel depressed.
That's really depressing, isn't it? Isn't that really inspirational? Doesn't it make you just want to go and slash your wrists?
That is not her happy face, in case anyone's wondering. So, just very briefly, bedridden for 2 years, another agonising 8 months of learning to walk again. You watch it on the movies and you go, oh my God, that's so strong, it's very inspirational, it's just shit. Lots of physio 6, 7, 8 hours a day. By the time that we had financially and mentally got our lives back to something resembling normal, the bottom line is we were frayed. We were absolutely beaten down, and we also were very confused in that we'd worked so hard.
Struggle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were fed up. We were disillusioned. We were depressed. Everything. I mean, you're told by your family, oh, you work hard and you can achieve this. And we had worked hard, and it had all gone to shit through no fault of our own.
We had done all the things that our friends and our family told us that we were meant to do in order to be successful.
So we went through what ifs. You all had that. What if? What if we won £1 million? What if we sold up and went to Spain? What if we took a bike trip?
That sounds a bit more manageable. The problem is this little bike trip idea, because it sounded manageable, the idea kept coming up over and over and over again, and to the point where the few friends we had remaining said, can you just shut the fuck up about this bike trip that's never going to happen because it's stupid, you're going to go out there and die. Bearing in mind, no social media at this point, you and Charlie had not sat out. The only person that we knew had done anything like this was Sam Manicom. And I was too scared to go and talk to him because he was on a pedestal up here because he'd spent 8 years going around the world. And I met him once and I went, well, I can't go and talk to him because he's a god and I'm just nothing who falls off a bike a lot. That is genuinely how I felt.
So we had 2 years. We spent going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. You know, we had bills to pay, had staff to pay, and it was my health as well, which was still worrying. So we finally sat down to make a decision: are we going to do this or not? And I think Simon, after his accident, it was just total burnout, wasn't it? You were totally burnt out.
Nothing made sense to me. We'd worked very hard and we'd lost it all, and so it wasn't just feeling depressed. It was going, oh, I can't work any more hours. I can't do anything else. And the stresses and the burdens and the responsibility just seemed to be building and building and building. And I'm not happy with my life, and I don't see a way out of this. Yes, I can walk again, but what's the point? We got to a point where we actually said, look, we just need a mental reset. So a few months away, on our bikes, in our tent, is going to a mental reset, if that makes sense. Can you guys relate to that?
So we made a decision we would do a journey, and after we made that decision, it was great because we had a goal. Because we'd been meandering and flip-flopping around and being shoved from pillar to post, not knowing what was going on. And once we made that decision, we had a goal. And that then gave us a goal to work towards.
We both felt a lot more focused. It was unexpected. The minute we just made the decision, we felt a little bit more in control. Quick question for you guys. How many of you like the idea of setting out on a longer bike trip? Okay.
So, we're going to share something a little bit more personal as to what it's like to spend 24/7 with someone. So I know a lot of you want to go out on a bike trip, maybe on your own. Would you consider going with your partner?
Hell no.
See, that's what we normally hear. Looking back now, I'm like, dude, he's the man. What was I thinking?
So we're going to give a little insight into that. And I know those of you who have travelled with partners may already have that insight.
Should we skip the questions because they're wank?
I've just done them.
Okay, good. Moving on. Okay, so I've got some notes here. So the biggest question I get, first of all, I just want to get to one side. I get asked by a lot of guys, it is a little bit sexist, what is it like travelling with your wife? And Lisa's right. People, male or female, don't typically ask the wife the same question. And no matter how much we like to think we live in a much more PC equal world, I'm not completely convinced that's true. The bottom line is, it has been tough, and there are times absolutely that we've wanted to kill each other. But the experiences, the ride, the situations that we've enjoyed together, those rare moments, very simply have been incredible. I couldn't have imagined feeling closer to Lisa or being more in love with my wife when we left. But this point right here, right now, I am more in awe of my wife than I was when we left. And for all the jokes and all of the fluff and the making light, I think I'm the luckiest guy in the marquee. But travelling together has opened opportunities, but it's also created quite a few, some challenges, and it does not always work out. There was never a point when we were imagining our journey that we genuinely sat down and truly contemplated the idea that there may be situations or circumstances where we were going to have to trust the other person with our life. It sounds great in the movies, but in reality, that's not going to happen to us because we're just a couple of dumbos on bikes who haven't ever been off-road. Prior to the trip, it had been 2 days. The only thing that matched our optimism was our ignorance. Lisa designed the entire route, and we've largely stuck to it. And then when we actually got on the road, in terms of the real powerhouse decision making, that was all Lisa. The benefit for me is when it went wrong, it wasn't my fault. That's not in there, I know.
So basically, I'm a what would they call me? A control freak map nerd. That's my title. But Simon and I took over roles and responsibilities that we just had we played to our particular strengths. So it wasn't that just like, oh, well, you do that and you do that. I mean, I do like to plan, I do like to organise, I do like to research. And so basically that was my job along the way.
What did I do?
I don't know, pick up heavy bits. Yeah, that's about right.
We should have rehearsed this shit.
And so, 3 years into our 16-month journey, we were in South America. And I looked at the map and I thought, I'd looked at the map and I thought it would be nice to go through the Amazon. But
Wait, Lisa and her understatement. It will be nice to go through the Amazon.
Nice to go through the Amazon.
That's what you do.
So,
carry on.
Really well. I thought instead of riding,
no, we did ride.
Instead of going on the boat from Manaus, which is the capital city in the middle of the Amazon, and go down to Portobello on the boat. We'd ride it, and I'd done all the research. We hadn't just kind of gone, we'll do it. It took a little bit of research in what to do, and it turned out that it was a hugely challenging ride, and neither of us would have taken this route on our own.
It also hadn't been attempted before. Now, we both like a challenge, we've both got an ego, but as far as we could tell, this route had not been attempted on large capacity bikes since the route closed down back in the early 80s. But it's interesting, there's negatives I told you about. So the vast majority of our experience is very positive, but there is a danger when couples' confidence comes into play. The bottom line is, I think we went into the Amazon knowing what was potentially going to happen, hoping that it wouldn't. We're not going to go into a ton of details because this is more about the relationship. Looking back now, the Amazon was probably not the most sensible decision ever, but we're riding motorcycles. It's not a practical exercise. Our couple's confidence said, yes, you've been through Africa, you've survived the Sahara, look at the Amazon, it's a big challenging project, but yes, you've got this. The challenge does come when you've got two couples that aren't completely in sync and have a rivalry that perhaps isn't healthy. Now, we have an absurd rivalry, but there is a point where we go, okay, now it's time to put that to one side, look at the risks, and actually do a risk assessment. Is it worth it? Can we do it? Do we have the skills? Do we have the time? What is the weather? Versus two mates getting together, be it male or female, or a husband and wife, or life partner, and instead of very carefully and pragmatically going, okay, it sounds great, but is it actually doable? They end up egging each other on, and they end up simply self-justifying why this idea would be great and let's go and do it. Life is important, and this shit gets real really fast.
So we ventured off into the Amazon, as you can see from the I know, I don't know why I'm doing that. Get off.
Sorry.
So on the second morning in the Amazon, Simon started to ride across the worst.
You're a professional speaker?
I am.
Okay,
I'm
good.
having a problem with my words. It's been hours talking and talking. So Simon decided to ride across that. And it was the worst bridge carcass that we had seen, and the wood gave way, and he just fell from the bridge. So he was unconscious for a few hours. Actually, it was about 5 hours. And when he came round, he was paralysed on his left-hand side, blind in his left eye. And yeah, it took about 5-6 hours to walk unassisted.
From the moment I fell, our relationship was tested in ways that we just couldn't have imagined. The next 3 weeks, which is how long it took to pull ourselves out of the jungle and get to the hospital, were a roller coaster where one of us was supporting the other and then vice versa. What was awful for me was that at that point, I had never wished my wife far away. I'd never wished her so far away anywhere than where we were, because actually I am old school. I'm the husband. My job is to protect my wife, and I'd failed, and I couldn't help her, and I couldn't move. Now she doesn't need protecting. She's strong, and if you get in her face, she'll deal with any situation. But I'm just talking about my brain, and I'd failed, and I'd now put her in harm's way because I was basically dead weight. I'm being sincere, I'm getting shit from the right. Stephen Kurt's going, man, I'm loving this. And you're already giving me shit because you're like, oh, he's being too mushy. I hate taking compliments. No, I'm fine. Look at you, aren't you?
Yeah, I cringe. I'm like, ooh, no, I don't like that.
We said if we were going to do this, we were going to be honest.
I know, I'll shut up and back off.
That'll be a first. So, I'm completely ignoring this. The bottom line is, yeah, I felt like dead weight. There was one point, we get asked a lot, were you scared? And the general answer is no. But there was one point on the trip that I felt terrified because I remember, I think it was the third day, left side's numb, I'm in a huge amount of pain, I'm passing out 6 times a day, I'm not thinking clearly, we're trying to fix a damaged bike, 34 short, subframe's horrible. And for a fleeting split second, I allowed myself to believe that I couldn't solve this. I'm not joking, it was a split second. But I remember this blanket of black doubt and fear just swallowed me. I know that sounds dramatic, I know it sounds like a big story, but that is how I felt. And Lisa came over and I said, look, I'm not sure what I can do. I know nothing about electrics, the whole wiring loom is completely fucked. I don't think we can get this going. You have to ride back to Manaus. And she said, no, you can fix this. And she relentlessly just kept saying, you can fix this for 3 days. But she was so adamant and unmovable that I could fix this. I just went Forrest Gump and went, okay. And literally just carried on muddling through until we fixed it. But the bottom line is, I wished her so far away, but if it hadn't been for Lisa's belief, her strength, her determination, I wouldn't be here telling you this story now.
Well, this actually went on for 3 weeks, so Simon would, pass out and we'd pick his bike up, I'd tow him and then repeat and rinse, repeat and rinse, repeat. So that was 3 weeks, and that's how long it took us to reach a hospital.
The week after the accident, we didn't take any video, we didn't take any photographs. That is a week and a half. This is the good stuff. We had jungle on our handlebars, pulling everything. As I mentioned, I wouldn't have made it out of the jungle. I am so dosed up with every drug we've got, because I am in more pain than I could describe. It was interesting, I had an injury a little while after that, and they misdiagnosed something, and on the charts it said, this is true, it said, bit of a pussy, low pain threshold. This one, on the other hand, got me up, towed me out. Malaria hit her pretty hard. We didn't know she had malaria. She was passing out and being weird. That was quite something. And then we got to Sao Paulo and they said, well, we think we know what's wrong with you. Can you please stop moving? So broken neck in 2 places and dislocating.
So he had 13 hours of emergency surgery, and his neck was broken in 2 places and dislocated.
So we put this story at the beginning because it's the most dramatic, and it sets a scene of, had Lisa not been who she is, I would not be talking to you. It is that simple. And although it was a horrendous experience, I could not be more proud of my wife, because we sadly were in a situation where we had to find out whether we had the metal that we all hope we do in that situation. And I hope you never have to find out if it's there or not.
I think it was actually working together. So, it was very easy. I could have sat down on the side of the route and just gone, I can't do this, I need to go, and relied on somehow getting out by using something else. But we had to ride out together, and we had to support each other in every single moment. It was a slog, but we helped one another. So the Amazon did force us to kind of lean into parts of our relationship that I didn't think we ever planned to. We were forced to rely on each other 100%, literally put our lives into each other's hands. There are some times, however, when this 100% dependency can be a bit comical.
So we were heading into Iran, and we knew there was going to be, well, a pretty major culture shift, especially for Lisa.
So So I knew heading into Iran, I was going to have to adopt a very different role. And especially as I was traveling with a male. Yes.
That's me.
Simon. An Iranian culture always defers to the man, and it's just how their culture works. And so I needed to take a backward step in every way, in my personality, in my behavior. And so things got a little awkward very quickly in Iran. Every single military and police checkpoint, Simon would, if I was leading, Simon would come on round to the front because they wanted to speak to Simon, not me. And they would ask, what city are you coming from? What city are you going to? How long will you be there? What road are you taking? All good questions. And every single time, Simon will go, Lisa, what city have we come from? Lisa, what city are we going to? How long are we spending there? And so on. And the disdain on the officers' faces every single time. This
You
checkpoint.
Western wussy infidel.
So there is a slight over-dependency there. And sometimes it's even more hilarious than that. So in the city of Mashhad, and this is actually one of the most religious shrines in Mashhad, actually in Iran. It's absolutely beautiful. It's the holiest city, so I was expected to wear the full chador, which made hopping on and off a motorbike pretty difficult. So this is my...
I knew the giggles.
This is my attractive new attire. And so we decided to head in by bus, because just trying to cope with all of that and the motorcycle and the looks that you get and trying to put a helmet, it was just impossible. So as a female, however, I couldn't travel in the same section of the bus as Simon. So as a female, I had to get on the back of the bus, and Simon could travel with all the other males in the front of the bus. And this is where the dependency situation becomes quite funny. So I could see Simon. He's tall, he's blonde. So he was blonde, and now he's grey. He stood out. But the issue was he couldn't see me. I'm short, and I'm wearing a chador. So I simply blended in with all the other women who were sitting there at the back of the bus. But Simon, once again, had absolutely no idea where he was going. He didn't know how many stops we needed to have. He didn't actually know the name of the stop that he needed. So every single time a woman got off the back of the bus in her full chador, Simon would go. He didn't know if it was me. He'd be looking, is it her? And it kept on going and kept on going. It was almost like he was checking out every single Iranian woman. It wasn't going down very well. I had to stop myself from literally physically wetting myself until I said, we're coming on off.
The look of relief apparently on my face.
Yeah, so that's what it was like, and I am in there.
Anyone spot Lisa?
Can you point me out?
I sure she couldn't. I remember that panic. Changing tempo very, very quickly. And again, this is all on me. We put in this together, and Lisa said, no, I don't need to put that section in because it reflects poorly on me. And I said, no, it's all about my headspace as a man and as a husband. So nothing to do with Lisa's ability or our riding. So when we get to Australia, Lisa said, this is absolutely true. Lisa said, look, I think we need to push ourselves. I'm in for a big ride. Let's cross Australia. I said, yeah, that's doable. She said, no, that's stupid. Let's take the longest axis possible from the northeast to the southwest. So it's 3,500 miles of basically 7 deserts, corrugations, and sand.
We've actually got a friend here from Australia, and he's nodding his head. You know that route, don't you?
It's called the world's longest shortcut. Stupid name. So that was basically Lisa's plan, and this was the route, and the graphic is courtesy of ABR because I wrote an article all about it. But that was the idea.
So we'd been on the road 10 years once we hit Australia, and we'd found our rhythm and riding together.
It was effortless.
Yeah, it was effortless. So we'd swap who was in the front, we'd ride quite closely together, and we always rode together.
And you get a situation where you've been riding with somebody so frequently that you know what they're going to do, you know how they're going to dip into a bend, you know when they're going to overbrake. You can just time it in. But here, what I wasn't expecting to deal with was basically my brain issue, because going into the desert, the sand and the dust being kicked up was so bad that if either of us tried to ride behind the other, not only we were choking up our air filters, but we just couldn't see. Now, we tried riding side by side, but basically the road trains come down. These are 4 or 5 huge trucks. You can get out of their way, especially if you're hitting bull dust or something else. So it was just simpler to say, look, we've got comms, just stay a mile back, so you'll be riding into some dust, but basically it'll die down. What I wasn't expecting, and what I had to analyse putting this together, was that the risk I put myself at, because I could not turn off my worry brain. So, we're cruising along, we start off at 50, then 60, then 70, then it gets a little bit faster, because you're riding 10, 12 hours a day, you've got to get fuel, you have no choice, there's nothing out there. And after I've not seen Lisa for like 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, that little part of your brain is always kicking in. I can't see her, is she okay? Nothing to do with her riding. Her riding's better than mine. I genuinely believe that. But it meant that all of the parts of my brain and my focus that were thinking about, is she okay, where is she, I can't see her, Jesus, how long has it been since I've seen her, means that I am not focusing on my singular job, which is staying upright at 70 miles an hour, barreling over corrugations that honestly were ungodly, trying to get to our next fuel stop. And then you get to a point where you go, well, what if she's fallen off? Well, now I'm riding away from her. What if a kangaroo has jumped out? There were a lot of those. Nothing to do with her skill, but kangaroos jumping out. What if she's just hit a massive pocket of bull dust which just swallows you in the bike? Well, now I'm riding away, and I'm feeling guilty and awful about something that may not even have happened. All this time, I am not giving 100% focus to just the ride. And on one occasion, there was about 25, 30 minutes since I'd seen Lisa, and on this one occasion, I did decide to turn around. Just to be clear, there are times when I'm quite happy to put my wife in danger if there's a really good photograph of the lightning strike. This is how you don't want to find your wife.
What happened?
I don't know, no idea. Just the whole bike, it was on a nice flat piece, it just felt like a fucking tank slapper. And I tried to slow down and it just went poof, flicked me off. And then I stuck underneath the bike and the petrol started pouring out into my helmet.
Shit. Are you alright, really bad?
Yeah, really stinging.
We're going to look at the bike. Shit. This is the problem. Glass beads. Did it shake you up?
Well, yeah, it was pretty fast one. I was going at reasonable speed.
Can I help? No. Just a minute, because you're quite upset. But what have we just discussed?
What, that it's my first real off on the trip?
So hang on, so in 10 years, this is your first real off at any kind of speed, with any kind of damage to your bike, in 10 years. And now you're feeling to blame, and you're giving yourself an overly hard time, thinking I'm just happy that you're okay.
We get asked all the time, did you ever think about stopping? And anyone that goes no is just full of bullshit. There are times like that where I'm thinking, nah, my wife is more important than this trip. She's more important than all this experience. Let's just call it a day. We've done pretty well. It's been 10 years, holy shit. Let's go home and try something else. And then she goes, man up, don't be a pussy, let's carry on. It's also really important to trust your partner and to know when they should be fighting their own battles. Anyone been to Australia? You don't count. So the head of BMW Marketing Australia got hold of us and said, "I've heard you've got this pretty cool ride. I've heard you here. Can you give us a hand launching the R1200?" We went, "Yes, we can."
So that was actually Miles Davis, and so we spent a weekend with some VIP clients and demonstrated a new bike, etc. And a few days later, we were in Melbourne with Miles, promoting BMW's, or the Australian's largest bike expo. And to see your bike up here on the big screen and everything at a BMW show is great. Now, Miles is a good-looking guy. Isn't he, Billy?
Actually, I spoke to him, he said he shagged you.
So yeah, he's a good-looking guy. And he does kind of know it just a little bit. And every time we saw him, he had a different model on his arm at every event that he attended.
This?
So he asked Simon and I round to his house for a drink and a sleepover. And of course we said, yeah, that sounds like fun, we'll do that.
We turn up at his house, they have a few too many drinks, every single wall's got a photograph of him doing something awesome. We have way too much because you're in Australia, that's what you do, and we have no control or filters. And we get to the back, we have some food, and I look up, and on his balcony, on the second floor, hanging from the rafters is a set of handlebars. So, being a twonk, I walk over, and I've been training a little bit, and I do a few chin-ups because that's the person I am. I'm an idiot. And I said to Mars, "Hey Mars, how many can you do?" Because thinking he went, "Oh, I'm not built for chin-ups. I just use it to hang and to de-stress and to straighten up my spine." Lisa hears this, and Lisa goes, well, you can imagine what she said. Again, it involved female anatomy. And she goes over, she says, "I can do 5, I can do 5, you can do 5. And she's standing there, and she's trying to do this, and she can't reach the bars, because Mars and I are 6'2" plus. So Miles walks over and says, "I'll give you a hand." And he grabs her under the armpits, gets a fistful of boob on both sides, on purpose, I swear to God. And then he goes, "Okay, you ready, love?" And he doesn't move her, and Lisa says, I'm a little bit heavier than you think. Now, we're all pretty buzzed at this point, so Miles's plan is simple, and this is where the shit went sideways. He has to lift Lisa because now his manhood depends on it. So in his head, what he's going to do is bend his legs, put his shoulder under her bum, and lift her up in a manly fashion. But we're like 2 bottles of gin in. Effectively, his shoulder did go under her bum, but instead of going up, he just rugby tackled her straight to the ground. I mean, I turn around and I hear this thud. The only reason she's still got boobs is because her hands went out. And Miles is so shocked and he's not coordinated when he's drunk that all I see is he's on top of Lisa and his arms and legs are doing this because he's not sure what to press to get leverage to stand up. And I just remember going, "Miles, get off my wife." And later the following morning, he went, "Yeah, obviously, no, it's BMW, it's marketing. You can't ever tell anybody this. We've been telling everybody at every opportunity." But it is important to understand when your significant other has to fight their own battles. Relationships aren't easy to manage. I mean, jokes aside, the divorce rate, the number of breakups, we've seen friends that we thought were absolutely solid together break up after X number of years. On the road, it exaggerates all of that. Whether you're traveling with your best buddy, a significant other or partner, you tend to find that long-term travel brings out the very best or the very worst. It expediates whatever direction it was ultimately going to go in. It's important to stop complete meltdowns. So we do get asked, how do you deal with those really tight and tense moments? So completely candid, completely honest, no bullshit. Lisa has more staying power than I do when it comes to arguing. She can hold a grudge. I can't. So basically, whatever happened, it was my fault. I'm not being trite. I say I'm sorry, she says fuck you, I said are we all good, she says no never, and we carry on.
That's sums it up, actually, yeah.
Once a year, I get to see my balls. They're in a small jar somewhere. It's a very small jar. It's important to understand, though, when the other person does need help, because now and again, I married somebody who rides a bike. I don't want to be riding with somebody who, when the stuff gets tough, goes, I can't do it, I need help. But it's also really important that one person identifies, actually, now's the time to step up and help the other person, even if that other person won't accept help. I'm enjoying the fact they've got a number of couples going.
Like ever. We've actually seen fights erupt between couples on the road and riding buddies, just because help wasn't offered or it wasn't accepted. So where is that tipping point? And for us, it's when some issue will put the other rider or both riders in harm's way. That's when you need to come to some kind of understanding.
Again, if you've got a limit of time, water, fuel, if one person is slowing you up, because our biggest issue, our biggest commodity issue is always time. Time to get to the next fuel stop, water stop, or visas. It's not just meandering around the world for 16 years. This is exactly what happened on the Silk Road. So we'd gone up to 17,200 feet in Bolivia, but what we'd forgotten is when we did that, we took 5 or 6 days. Lisa's got a bunch of meds, she's got heart issues. When we were doing the Silk Road, we had a couple of very high passes, 15, 16,000 feet, and we had to go up and down within a matter of hours. As it turns out, we'd climbed so quickly on one of the big passes that Lisa's altitude sickness really kicked in. Bleeding nose, bleeding ears, that really freaked me out. Super dizzy, couldn't really breathe, had no balance, and she was just talking nonsense, which scared the crap out of me.
So, however, I was still insisting I was okay to ride. And
Strongly.
I remember feeling quite insulted that Simon was saying he wanted me to get off the bike right now and he was going to ride it. And my whole attitude was, what the hell is his problem? I couldn't see.
She didn't express it like that. As it turns out, I ended up riding 2 miles.
Yeah, you did. It was kind of like a leapfrog situation. So Simon would ride one bike up the track and park it, and then he'd run back down at 16,000 feet, and he'd go and get on the other one and ride that up, leapfrog it over, back, repeat, back, repeat. I can see what you were doing. And all I could do at that time
was bleed on the snow from your nose.
Slowly stagger up the hill because I couldn't breathe, I could hardly walk. And he was doing all of this at altitude. So he could have just let me continue.
You're right back. Keep going, you're doing really well.
At my own expense. And let me suffer the consequences and say, well, I offered help, therefore you should have accepted it and now accept the consequences. But looking back, I know then that my decision making was really, really off. And luckily Simon did realise this and pushed the point and made me accept his help. And I think that's one of the most important things, knowing when to accept that help.
You make that sound so natural for you. Here we go. Very old camera, very poor video, but a little insight.
2 miles worth. So yeah, 2 miles worth of doing that.
Who thinks that I milked that for a very long time afterwards? Still am. Yeah, you're not wrong there. Let's put this video in. Look, I'm your hero. We've got off notes here. Our journey has not been a Hallmark card. We have had people walk out of presentations because they genuinely thought we were arguing on stage, but this band has been the same for 33 years?
You mean to say you don't know how long we've been married?
Fuck, I walked into that one. We've been married just the right amount of time. Desperate. What beat me to? Tough times, deal with mental angst.
I mean, of course we've had some massive meltdowns on the road. We're a married couple, but we're also in very intense situations sometimes. And so, like any other couple, we have that heated argument, which is nothing really to do about really what we're arguing about. And that happens when you're exhausted or you're freezing your bits off. Your patience just gets very frayed.
Route of 40 going north in Argentina, the bikes were just covered in mud. We were not doing well. We've both been ill. Yeah, that is not a happy face. And honestly, she took it out on me every single day. But as long as I knew that, look, she's just taking it out on me because that's how she's mentally dealing with what we're pushing ourselves through, you know what? That's fine. And as long as I accepted that I couldn't return the favour, that worked too.
There was not a lot of cuddling going on, and we hated the mud. A lot of the time we hated each other too.
A lot of the times the other arguments are more to do with simple thoughtlessness, and that again can spark any argument, especially if you're very tired or you're ill or you are stressed. So, you know, there are lots of times when I'm looking at a situation like this and the light's lovely and I'm trying to capture the moment and I've got the camera out and I'm thinking, my God, look how cool I am. I'm taking a photograph of this moment that will never happen again in Ghana at the time. And Lisa's face is saying something different. And if you're wondering what Lisa's face is actually saying, it's that. I think we should just leave that slide up there. But there are also times that are genuinely stressful because not necessarily we're in harm's way, but again, coming from Casamance, Senegal, over into Mali, we've done part of the Dakar route, and we get to this river that's far wider and deeper than it should have been, and we have this reality: we can't go back, we're not good enough, we don't have the supplies, we have to go across, there is no bridge. But the bottom line is, if this tree with a hole in it goes over, then we're not getting the bikes out. That journey's finished. 2 years of imagining, 3 years of planning, all that saving is basically gone. And you weren't very nice to me, were you? You can see a theme building, can't you? I don't want your sympathy.
Can you tell them they've got 5 minutes left, please?
You've got 5 minutes left!
Thank you. Thank you.
He always builds extra in.
No, he doesn't.
Jokes aside, dealing with issues where you're personally hurt, finding out where your own comfort points are, where your own breaking points are, I find difficult, but I also find it challenging, and I do spin off that. The hardest parts of the journey for me are finding out where her break points are and then watching her go past them. And that I find very difficult to deal with because I feel very protective.
The hardest points for me is being in close proximity all the time. And also not in the most ideal circumstances. And one of the things I have, you know, you're cooking in front of the tent, which I know you shouldn't do, but you're cooking in front of the tent, and I've got Simon's smelly feet near my food. I hate...
Well, that was actually Mongolia, which we call the country of contraception, because we had so little water we couldn't bathe, and if we couldn't bathe, the smell got quite bad, so there was no sex.
But it's strange. Simon and I are very lucky, and on the whole, we've been never happier than when we've been in our tent and close quarters on the road. And that has worked for us for 16 years. But we realised how this isn't for every single couple.
The biggest tool you can take is the ability to be flexible, to have your plans change and to go with it, and to turn those mishaps into great adventures. And a sense of humour to deal with any situation. And the darker the situation, the more that humour is going to come out and save you. We rely on it every single day. We make fun of each other, we make fun of situations, we take a glib attitude, we don't take ourselves seriously.
Do we enjoy travelling solo? No, not really. Would we have stayed on the road for 16 years without one another?
Pixie shot. Do the pixie shot.
No, not really. And you're always interrupting.
I know.
Shut up.
Pixie shot.
We've actually found it an advantage that many people will approach a male and a female on the road. We're less threatening, although that actually looks quite threatening. Both look quite horrible. And for us, we wouldn't have had it any other way.
As you travel, and I know that a lot of you have, you end up becoming riders, you end up becoming shipping experts, bike fixers. I feel genuinely privileged to have shared my journey with my best friend. I know it's nauseating, but I really mean this stuff. I've shared this journey with Lisa. Had I done this on my own, and again, had she done this, it wouldn't have meant as much if we weren't able to share it month on month and every single evening. You end up doing some crazy stuff that you can't imagine you'll do at the beginning. We've shared every second, we've loved every second, we've got through it, and honestly, we've lived more in the last 20 years than we thought we'd live in a lifetime. So the bottom line is, here is the conclusion that I'm going to rush through. If you have a plan, if you have a journey, if you've got an ambition, if you don't think you're ready, that's absolutely okay, because you never will be until you start. But whatever you do, don't put it off. You've got one life, live it. If things don't work out, change direction. If you're lucky enough to be able to share it with a spouse, a partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a best friend, then don't hold back for a second. You can't redo things when the opportunity no longer exists. It's never too late to be who you might have been.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go. I just want to say that I've worked with these guys. See how flexible I am, by the way. I've worked with these guys for years, and I love the dynamic between you two. It's been a real pleasure working with both of you over the years and seeing that, and I'm really looking forward to the divorce.
So weak as the makeup sex.
You're number one on my list, all right.
Well, their whole story is about their relationship. It's about their time together. My whole story was 2005 when my wife divorced me. And if we were in that situation when he fell off that fucking bridge, my wife would still be there now if that was me, because I would have just left her there. I'm only joking, yeah. Please. Give them one more thank you, because they've got to shoot off back to another stage now. Give me loads. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
I keep forgetting to do this. One more time. I'm going to turn around.
And one more time, we want a lot more noise than that. A lot more noise. I'm very disappointed in you.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3. Oh, to me as well. Hang on. 1, 2, 3.
You're awesome, thank you.
We have some cards up here. If you want to, when you leave, come and pick up a card. Follow us on our travel site. We also have a photography site. Come to our photography site as well. And we're heading back to do our last interview for the day, which is on the Bridgestone stage. And we are interviewing Kinga.
Give me that microphone now, for God's sake.